The last point you made is champions have a dream. You've realized a lot of your dreams, probably
Sure.
probably beyond your wildest dreams. So where you are right now, what's the next dream for Bob Bowman?
The dream for me is to develop an NC2A championship program,
Hmm.
and that's why I'm here. It's like you said, I've kind of done a lot of other things.
Yep.
And I should probably preface that. It's like the dream for me is that the kids who come into our program go as far as they can go.
Yep.
So if I bring in the right kids and we do that, we'll have something good will happen at the end.
Uh-huh.
But that's what I really love to do. And I realized kind of in Baltimore, it's interesting. You had that story about Yannick, and it was so great to see him. I love him to death, right? And he told that little time where I threw the coffee, right? And everybody's
Hmm.
like, oh, yeah, Bob's mad all the time. Well, I'm really not, but I remember that day specifically 100%. And the reason I threw the coffee was I was so overwhelmed by so many things. I was the head coach of North Baltimore Aquatic Club. I was coaching this pro group of a lot of high powered people. I
Mm.
was running a business that had 150 employees and wasn't really doing that well at a time to make the whole thing run.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm worried about paying the taxes and the payroll and the this and the that and the other. And the one good thing in my life at that time was Yannick's training, right? So when that went wrong, I was like, okay, Keenan, that's it. We're done. And I didn't leave him in the water. I left him with Keenan Robinson, the best swimming shoulder person in the world. So
Yeah.
that was,
Yeah.
but that's why I had to kind of follow up with it because it had nothing to do with him. It was like, okay, but that was like the last straw.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I've done I've tried to do in my life since then is edit things, right?
Hmm.
So I want to focus on my program here at ASU. I want to develop people, do what I love, which is actually the day-to-day coaching, and kind of cut out a lot of this other stuff. So
Yeah.
that's been part of it.
Awesome. Love it. And I think you're well on your way, no doubt about it. And Bob, I've thrown some coffees in my life, so it's all good.
I think it was empty. It was just the cup. I would never waste a coffee. That's kind of my medicine, right?
Well, you know what? Actually, I felt a little bit guilty after that because I had mentioned during the podcast with Yannick that I don't think Bob Bowman is known as a nurturing coach. And then I thought to myself, well, that's a little bit unfair because I don't really know Bob Bowman. So then I immediately reached out to you and I was like, hey, can I get you on the podcast? Because I want to hear from you. But because it's not the fact that you're not nurturing. Obviously, you've nurtured some of the greatest athletes in history. But, there are things that you truly believe in order to be successful. And one of them is obviously excellence. You just can't come in and be average every day. You've got to be excellent. So when you threw the coffee, I could completely relate to that. When you demanded excellence, I could completely relate to that. And when somebody, as like an athlete, misunderstood that, I could completely relate to that as well. Because
for sure, right? Yeah, it happens.
There's that, So, but why is it that you demand excellence every day?
It's how I was raised. When my parents were, I feel like I had a great childhood, Columbia, South Carolina, grew up. And I don't think my parents were like overbearing, but if I came home with a 98 on my test, my mom would say, what could you do to get 100? It was about how far can you go with this? We expect you to kind of set some goals. And I think and I did that. And when you start doing that, you start achieving some things, feeling good about it, kind of pushing your limits. And I saw swimming as a perfect venue to sort of test what was possible. That was the great thing with Michael. It wasn't like, oh, we want to go and bag all these medals. It was like, what is possible? Could somebody really swim on that level for 8 events? Beforehand, no. Now, yeah, some people know it's possible. It's not easy, but and everybody has that, right? What's possible for you? Is it possible Allison Schmidt could swim 152 and a 200 free? I think it probably is even today, but it hasn't happened yet. But you know what I mean? It was like, that's what we're trying to figure out. And that's what the fun part. The fun part's that journey.